Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Layton and this is Composition Online at Cali this summer. I am glad you are here. I have noticed that a few of you have not checked in yet, so I thought I would go over a couple of things on our midweek video that you probably read about already in the Start Here link. I am going to give you some nuggets of information about assignments that are due this week, so please take the time to watch the video. I'm not just going to go through the things that have already been typed out for you. Okay, so as a reminder, your announcements that appear every week will tell you what you need to do for that week's work. And the first thing tells you that you need to read the syllabus and go to the Start Here link. There are assignments that are posted in the Start Here link, so make sure that you read all of that information and take those assignments down. You have a couple of assignments due tonight, and you also have some assignments due on Friday, and then Sunday is our other due date for this week. We run on a Monday morning through Sunday evening basis. Our cutoff times are always going to be 9:30, so make sure you get in there and do your postings before that, because if you log in after 9:30, those assignment links won't be there anymore. You won't be able to find them. Okay, so then you go to course content next, and our module 1 is going to cover the first 3 weeks of class. It's all about literary analysis, and so it's really important that you guys are doing the chapter readings along the way, making sure that you are absorbing the information as it is presented through the book, because for Composition 2 class, this is very different content for you. Most of the time before you've been given a mode or genre for writing. Say, for example, you're going to write an autobiographical essay, or you are going to write a persuasive essay, and you go out and you select your topic and you go, right? But much of the writing that we do in this class is going to be based upon something that you have read first. So this is very different, and the beginning of your literature book will give you a great idea about how this class really plays upon the idea of analytical thinking and analytical writing and critical thinking in order to get the job done. So this class is more challenging because you don't just get to make everything up along the way. You have to base your ideas upon the reading or your interpretations of the reading. So in the first few weeks, you are going to be doing some log assignments or journal assignments, and then you are going to end this unit with a full formal analysis essay. So the logs that we're doing along the way are to just kind of experiment with the different critical approaches, but every critical approach that you choose, no matter which one, is all going to be about interpreting the literature. So every log or journal that you write is going to have to comment on the theme or overall meaning of the text. What message is in it for you and for me as we read that text. Okay, so at the beginning of every week, Monday morning, you'll see a new task list that will be posted, and then next week you'll have to scroll down to get to the next task list. Okay, the different assignments here, I've tried to kind of point out to you the highlights or major things from all of this reading. They're in bold here. Don't skip any of those things or you're going to be lost on your assignments, okay? So if you scroll down, then you will see all of the supplements that are incorporated into the course for you, okay? I have had a question about the story of an hour stuff, so I'm going to go over that with you. you know, in the assignment for the week, you are needing to read the story of an hour and think critically about it as you read. See if you can identify all of the different strategies and devices that the author is using in order to give you a message. So it may be that you notice there's a metaphor or symbolism or that kind of thing. And then I have posted for you a copy of that story that shows annotations in the margin. In other words, as I went through reading, I was finding things, so I was making note of those in the side. And it's just for you to kind of compare. What did I find that maybe you didn't see the first time around, and that kind of thing. Keep in mind that most of the time, critical reading means that you have to read it slowly and carefully. You can't just whip through it and look for the summary of the story anymore. It's much more about slow, close readings. And for analytical writing about that reading, then, you have to sometimes go back and read it multiple times in order to pull meaning from it for yourself, okay? And then the literary analysis chunk form is a way to introduce you to developing paragraphs and showing what your opinion is about a text, and then backing it up with examples from the text, and then explaining it to your reader. It's three-part. Okay, so you have to be able to make some assumptions or state some opinions about what you are reading, but you can't just pull that out of thin air. It has to be based upon something in that text that you read. And then you can't just stop there, because if you did, someone would go, well, I don't understand how that's your interpretation, because when I read that, I get a completely different message out of it, right? So you have to have that third part where you explain the connection between your opinion about the text and the quote or paraphrase that you're pulling from the text, and showing your reader the connection to those things, okay? So the character diagram example here is to show you, now this is the assignment link. You can tell because of the little, looks like a little book opening here. It's an assignment link. There is a graphic here that you can open with the assignment instructions and an example. So if you click on that, and it is in Word so that you can manipulate those boxes if you need to. You can actually even just write it out on paper and take a picture and upload that. As long as I can see it to read it clearly, then that would be okay too. All right, so if you open this and click Enable Editing at the top, then you can type into these boxes. So the instructions up here say, for each box, type in the claim about the character. That's your opinion, right, about the character. What do you think her ideas were? Okay, and then the text evidence. So this would be where you quote the story, and then you have to put the page reference in parentheses there too, right? And then the third part is the commentary, where you explain the connection between those two things. You explain how that quote is leading you to believe your specific opinion. Okay, now if this box isn't big enough for me to do that, then I can just drag it down and make it bigger. So for ideas, I might put, for example, I'm going to use Eveline. Eveline thinks the world is small. Okay, that's what she's thinking. That's what her ideas are. Okay, and then next I have to put a quote in. And I'm not going to look that up right now just for the sake of time, because I want to keep these videos short. And then I'll put the page reference and period. Okay, since this whole page is all about Eveline, which that's way too long a page for Eveline. She's at the beginning of the book. Okay, then I have a period after the parenthesis, and then I have my explanation. So this is where I say, she she dreams of escape, blah, 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 okay? So you're going to do that in each one of these boxes. You have an opinion about the character, her visions and hopes, her strengths, her feelings, her weaknesses. Text evidence, a quote, and then your explanation or commentary is the third thing that I have to see in every box, okay? And those might be longer or shorter than what I have listed here. Now, in order to explain more fully, I've given you an example that I just did. I made this in a document, the stick person, and then just created the lines. But if you see on each one of these, it gives you specific examples of what I'm talking about. So if you have questions on how to do this, read the instructions and then also look at the examples. So here, my claim about her weakness, what I'd put in the box for weakness is I would make a bold statement. It's controversial because it's my opinion and you may disagree, and that's okay. But I'm going to give you evidence from how I'm interpreting the story. So I might say Eveline is fragile. And then for the lines for text evidence, okay, I would put something like, she sometimes felt herself in danger of her father's violence. She knew it was that had given her the palpitations, end quote, and then 4 in parentheses because that's the page number that that quote came from, okay? Notice the punctuation, period goes after pagination. And then next I have to make the connection for the reader. Because this character associates her father's behavior as the reason for her own medical condition, she appears to be physically and perhaps mentally weak as well. It seems that her fear is what's making her fragile. Okay, so that is all inside of that link that I provided for you in Blackboard on that assignment link. Click on that to get to the example and the specific instructions that you will post to that assignment link. Okay, and then the journal. For journals, guys, I want you to type right into that journal box. I don't want you to attach a Word document for journals. Okay, I'll always be specific about your attaching a Word document for essays and that kind of thing, but for the journals, you have a choice. You can write about Eveline or you can write about the story of an hour, whichever is your choice. And you have 2 choices on the types of journals. For the critical approaches, you may write the reader response, which is very much like an expressive response, kind of similar to what you did for another assignment, or the intertextual approach, which basically is a text-to-text approach. Now, you could show how Eveline and Mrs. Mallard are very similar in nature and how both of those stories are leading to a similar message or the same theme, if you will, okay? Or you could go, hey, this story of an hour really reminds me of a movie that I once watched, or a poem that I read, or another story or book that I'm familiar with. Okay, that would be text to text or intertextual approach. And that will be your journal that you type right into the box. Okay, now next week on Monday, you'll see a new task list underneath this critical approach journals assignment. Now this, you will do 4 of these journals. We've got 1 this week, 2 next week, and 1 the last week of this module before you turn in your essay. Okay, so the assignment links will go away, but I will always leave open for you the attachments or supplements, because this first unit that we do is critical. It's so very important because it builds upon the knowledge that you need for the next unit. So all of the information that I'm going to start putting in there about quoting properly and citing properly and all of that stuff, you're going to use that again later. So it's incredibly important that you read very carefully and take notes on what you've got available to you so that you don't mess up on those future assignments where we're building upon what we're getting in this unit. Okay? So, It looks like I'm about out of time, so please don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions. Right? There are other guides for you if you look into the institutional resources, for example. You can use tutor.com to make sure you're not missing points and proofreading and things, or send me or your classmates an email if